Hi everyone, welcome to Gnan Cloud Garage. In this session, I'm going to talk about how to create a virtual machine in ESXi 8 and install Windows 2022 OS and Windows 11 OS. So we'll create two virtual machines. One VM we can plan to install 2022 and the second VM we can install Windows 11 client operating system. Okay, so before we going to create VM and install, let me understand the agenda. So normally in the real-time scenario, when we are creating a virtual machines in the production environment, we should have some pre-implementation steps, implementation procedure, and post-implementation steps. So let's understand what is the importance of pre-implementation steps. Pre-implementation steps means before creating a virtual machine, we should know about what is our virtual machine name and how many CPUs we are going to assign and how much the memory we are going to assign for the VM and how much our disk size and how many NICs I am going to assign and what is the operating system flavor. Okay, so let's say virtual machine name I am planning to create as a AD01 Active Directory 01 and the CPUs are 2 CPU and memory 4 GB and the disk is 50 GB and the NIC is 1 NIC card and operating system is Windows Server 2022. Okay, so based on this pre-requirement, we can create a virtual machine now. Okay, let's log into our lab system. Let me connect to our ESXi host. So log into the ESXi host using VMware ESXi host client. Enter the login credentials. So once we log into the ESXi host, see currently if you see the virtual machines, it is showing as 0. There is no virtual machines. So let's create a virtual machine first. Create new virtual machine. Click on next. And we are planning to choose the VM name as AD01. So I'm just giving the name as AD01. Either you can use uppercase or lowercase, that doesn't matter. Let's say AD01 uppercase also fine. And guest OS family, we are choosing the OS family is Windows and the guest OS version is Windows Server 2022. So you can choose Windows Server 2022. Okay. And once the flavor is selected, click on next and select the data store. So the storage should be our local data store. Select the storage, click on next. And the customization, see CPUs are 2 CPU. If you see our notes, we mention as 2 CPU and 4 GB, 50 GB of hard disk space. So same way we can assign. See 2 CPU, our memory is 4 GB and hard disk size is 50 GB. So you can change the disk size to 50. And even we have a two types of disk format, thick and thin. If you want to change to thin, you can change to thin as well. And hard disk is assigned and even network card, one network card is assigned. Even network card also there are multiple types. The recommended network is VMX-Net 3. Okay, and once the network card everything is selected, so even OS also selected, click on next. If you see our summary of virtual machine, we have VM name is AD01 as per the requirement, 2 CPU, 4 GB memory and 1 NIC card and network card also selected. Now click on finish. So once you click on finish in our recent task, create virtual machine is completed successfully. See, there is a AD01 VM is created. If you want to install the guest operating system, so select the virtual machine and click on edit. When you click on edit, look for a CD DVD. So select the CD DVD and you can choose the drop down menu data store ISO file. So in our data store, in our previous session, we already uploaded the ISO. So let me choose the Windows 2022 ISO file, select, and whenever you select the ISO file, so select connected power on and connect option. Now click on save. So now when we power on this virtual machine is start booting from a Windows 2022 ISO file. So click on power on. So virtual machine power on is in progress, completed successfully. So to open the console, see right click the console, you can choose open the console in new tab. So now press enter. Sometime if it is not booting, what we can do is just select this wizard. Here you can choose power reset. When you do the reset one more time, it will try to boot. Okay, so go here and choose guest OS, send keys, control alt delete. This is one method, or reset. Okay, see, now press any key. When you press any key, it will start booting from our Windows 2022 ISO file. See, now it is booting from 2022 ISO file. Language, let's leave it default English. Click on next and install now. So installation is pretty straightforward. See, we have two types of Windows Server 2022, standard evaluation and data center evaluation. And the standard evaluation desktop experience means it is a graphical user interface. And if you select the first option, it's a command line interface. So now better we can go with a graphical one. So Windows Server 2022 standard evaluation desktop experience, click on next. So now VM creation is license agreement. We need to accept, click on next. And the first option is usually for upgrade scenarios. For fresh installation, select custom, install Microsoft Server operating system only. Okay, and we already given the size is 50 GB. So select the same disk and click on next. So it may take some time to finish the Windows Server 2022 installation. Okay, in the meantime, what we can do is go to the ESXi console. See, we can see virtual machine is created and guest OS installation is in progress. In the meantime, let's back to our slide. So this is the AD01 I already created and installation is in progress. Similarly, if you want to create another VM, let's say VM name is VM01 and I'm planning to assign 2 CPU and 2 GB of memory, and we plan to give 50 GB of hard disk and 1 NIC card, and operating system Windows 11. Okay, and here hard disk I given only one hard disk 50 GB. Suppose in future if you want to add additional disks also, we can add. Normally in the production scenario, minimally we can create two virtual disks, one disk for 50 GB for operating system, either 50 or 100 GB minimally we can assign. Because in our test lab, I am just using the minimum size 50 GB, but in the production environment, 100 GB or 200 GB we can assign for C drive, and D drive is mainly for your data. We can assign a based on our requirements. Okay, and you can add multiple disks also, not only two, more than two disks also we can add. And the client operating system Windows 11. So we can create and one more VM now. So currently this VM installation is still in progress. So in the meantime, go to the virtual machines tab, create new virtual machine, and we can plan to install the Windows 11 OS. So let's say VM name is VM01 and operating system family is Windows and the client OS version is Windows 11. Okay, so now click on next. So local operating system data store is selected, and 2 CPU we are planning to assign a 2 GB of memory. So you can choose 2. Okay, and memory is selected, and hard disk we are planning to assign as 50 GB, and it'll better to change the hard disk to thin provision. Okay, and if you want to mount the ISO file, you can mount it here, or let's once VM is created, later also you can mount the ISO file. Okay, either any method is fine. So now all the configurations are fine. Let's before click on finish, let's review one more time. 2 CPU, 2 GB memory, one network card, and we have assigned 50 GB. Okay, so now click on finish. So VM creation is finished, completed successfully, and VM01 completed successfully. So VM01 is created. If you want to mount the ISO file, so just click on edit and go to the CD DVD and select the data store ISO file and choose the ISOs folder and map our Windows 11 ISO file. Click on select. When you select the ISO file, we need to enable the connect option and as well as connected power on option. So now click on save. So once you save connected the ISO file, it's time to power on the virtual machine. So once you power on the VM, to open the console, go here and open console in a new window. That is one method, or else open console in the new tab. So ISO is open, VM console is open, but currently it is not able to boot from the Windows 11. So for that one, you can reboot one more time. So send Control Alt Delete, Control Alt Delete. So press any key so that it will start booting from Windows 11 operating system. So same like Windows 2022, even 11 operating system also almost the same procedure. We can just follow the on-screen instructions. So language English. So click on next. So install now. But this OS flavor is Windows Client OS version 11. And activation, if you want to do, we can do, or else we can say I do not have product key, so that it will go with a evaluation edition. And there are multiple flavors: Windows Home, Windows 11 Pro, and there are multiple flavors. So either you can choose Windows Home or you can choose Windows 11 Professional. Any method is, any flavor is fine. So now click on next. Once you click on next, see, this PC cannot run Windows 11, doesn't meet the version of Windows. Okay, so that is the case. We can choose Windows 11 Home. Okay, minimum requirements. That means the system configuration is very minimal, 2 CPU, 2 GB memory. Maybe we can increase the CPU memory and we'll try. Okay, so are you sure you want to quit? Okay, let's quit. And we can increase the memory here. Go to the VM edit settings. And currently VM is in the power on state. Let's power off first. So click on edit settings and increase the memory to 4 GB. Okay, now click on save. So let's power on again and open the VM in the new console. So let me refresh here. Go here, guest OS and Control Alt Delete. Okay, now what changes I did is I increased the memory from 2 GB to 4 GB, and we'll see still we get the any configuration error or not. Click on install. And I do not have product key. So let's go with Windows Home for the time being. Okay, still it is showing as minimum system requirements. Okay, we can check in the Google what is the minimum requirements for Windows 11. So it says 4 GB and storage minimally 64 GB. Okay, that is the reason we are receiving the error. So let's increase the storage to 64 GB or we can increase 70 GB. So again, power off and change the disk size. Let's say disk size I'm giving 70 GB. Click on save. So 70 is more than 64 GB. Let's try to power on now again. Power on and we can refresh this console. Control Alt Delete. Okay, press any key to start the Windows 11 OS installation. So English install now. And I do not have product key. Windows 11 Home, click on next. So still it is showing PC doesn't meet the minimum requirements. Okay. Any other requirements? 2 or more CPU, 4 GB or greater, 64 GB. Yeah, we given all correct only, but somehow it is showing there a message. Okay, let me retry again. Power off first and increase the CPU and memory for Windows 11. Let's say CPU I given 4 CPU and memory is 8 GB and hard disk let's give 100 GB. Click on save. So let me power on. I think this time it will run. We given enough resources. Open console, new tab. Okay, let me reset one more time to detect the ISO file. Sorry, I didn't notice this requirement earlier. Install now. Okay. So click on next. Oh, still it is showing. Maybe it may require to restart the VM once. Okay, go to the power, reset. Or we'll try to power off and power on. Or alternative method is we can just remove this VM and create new one. Right click the VM, delete this VM from. Let's power off first. Delete. Okay, and we'll create new VM first. Click on next and VM name is VM01 and Windows. Client OS is Windows 11. Click on next. Okay, it took 8 GB, 96 GB. Okay, let's leave it as default configuration. Click on next, finish. Now this VM01, let me edit and mount the ISO file. Let's say ISO file is Windows 11. Okay, now power on. Okay, Windows 11 installation is in progress. Click on next, install. So I do not have product key. Click on next. Okay, if it is still showing the error message means what I suspect is if we go to the data store and data store browser and ISO, I suspect the ISO is showing 22H2 Windows 11. Maybe ISO is a different flavor. Let me re-upload the new ISO and show you in the another session. Okay, let me close the Windows 11 installation and we'll focus on the Windows 2022 installation. Okay, so Windows 2022 in the another tab AD01 VM. This VM is completed installation. Let me assign the password. So I will re-upload the Windows 11 ISO. Okay, in the meantime, we'll focus on Windows 2022. Okay, Windows 22 OS installation is completed. Again, if you want to log in, send keys, Control Alt Delete, and log into the Windows Server 2022. Okay, OS is able to log in successfully. Let's back to the slide. So we completed the Windows Server 2022 and Windows 11. There is some ISO issue. I will download again the ISO respective ISO and we'll try. And in the meantime, let's go to the another point, virtual machine implementation procedure. See, implementation procedure is create a VM as per the requirement. So we already created and install the guest OS 2022. We already installed. Okay. And another point is post installation steps. So post implementation steps include power on VM. We already power on the VM. And another second step is install the VMware tools. So to install VMware tools, again log into our Windows system. Before installing VMware tools, log into our ESXi host first, select our AD01 Active Directory VM, right click here, and you can choose guest OS install VMware tools. When you click on install VMware tools, it will mount the ISO file in the guest OS level. So you open any folder. If you go to the this PC, you can see the it's mounted. Okay. So let's launch the VMware tools installation. Okay, this is a VMware tool step. Click on next. And normally we have typical, complete and custom. Always recommend this typical. So click on next, install. So once the installation is completed, it requires a restart. So this VMware tools, it will help to install all the virtual device drivers. So click on finish. So you must restart your system. So click on yes. So in the meantime, back to our slide. See, the third point is change the server name similar as virtual machine display name. Our virtual machine display name is AD01. The same way in our guest OS server name also we can change. Okay. Once the server is back to online, we can change. See, server is already back to online. So let's log in. Default administrator is administrator. And once we log in, we can see here VMware tools are installed. Either you can verify from the right side corner or another method is go to the appwidge.cpl. That means add or remove programs. You can see VMware tools are installed. Okay. So once tools are installed, another point we have to change the computer name. So in the left side, in the server manager wizard, select local server. See the computer name is showing as different name. So click on change and you can change it to the default same as display name. So that is AD01. So once you select the AD01, click on OK. Click on OK, close and restart now. So computer name is already changed. And another point is assign the IP address. So we have to assign static IP address for the AD server. So again, log into the system. Once it is back online, we can log into the system and we can assign a IP address. Okay. So this same server, we are planning to configure Active Directory and a DNS. So we can assign the IP address for this system. So go to the ncpa.cpl and select the network card, go to the properties, IPv4 and assign the IP address. Let's say 192.168.10. I'm planning to give the IP address is 53. And the gateway for our lab system is 192.168.10.1. And the DNS server, I'm planning to use same server. So 192.168.10.53. Okay, so click on OK, click on close. So IP assignment is in progress. Status is showing as still not detecting. That means we can see in the VM edit settings, network should be in the connected state. Right click the ADVM, go to the edit settings and see network connection should be in a connected state. Okay, network is in a connected state. And we can uncheck the ISO file, click on save. So it may take a while to detect the IP address. So in the meantime, we can restart also one. Let me double check the IP. 192.168.10.53. Yeah, all the details are correct. Okay, so now what we can do is we can see the another point. See, change the time zone. So if you want to change the time zone, again go to the server manager, local server. It is pointed the time zone is different time zone. So currently server is in a Singapore location. So we can change the time location to Singapore. Click on OK. So time is changed and we have to update the time. Time will automatically update later, and location still it is showing. Okay, maybe it may require to restart once. So time zone is changed. And another point is activate the guest voice license. But in our lab system, we are using evaluation period. And another point, disable IE enhanced security. So this option we can do now. Once the system is back online, go to the guest OS, send Control Alt Delete and log in. See, now go to the server manager first. To disable the IE enhanced security, you can see from the local server IE enhanced security. You can change here. So change it to off. Okay, and time zone also change it to Singapore location. Even this is on location, just refresh, it will update. See, now it is off. And another point is turn off the firewall. So this is optional. If you want to off, you can off or else leave it. Let's say if you want to off the firewall, just click on firewall icon, go to the advanced settings and turn off the firewall at the all the locations. Click on properties. You can off domain, private and public. All firewall should be off. Okay, this point also completed. Just refresh here. And another point is enable RDP. If you want to enable the RDP, just go here and remote desktop is default disable state. Click on here and enable. Okay, click on apply. Okay, so just refresh. Remote desktop connection will change it to enabled. Enabled. And 10th point is install project specific applications. So present, it's a new VM. So normally in the real time scenario, if the customer provide any applications, we have to install those applications. And guest voice hardening. This is also every organization have some hardening guidelines. We have to follow those hardening guidelines. For example, password length and also changing the wallpaper, this and all. Okay. And last but not the least, provide the virtual machine details to customer. Okay, this is how we can create the virtual machine, install the guest OS. And today I am able to show you the Windows Server 2022, but somehow the Windows 11 having issues, some ISO problem. I will download again one more time the respective ISO and we'll try. Okay, so that's it now. Thank you. If you are watching this video first time, please do view, like, share, and subscribe to the Gnan Cloud Garage channel. If you're already subscribed, I appreciate all your support. Bye for now.